Crankshaft balancing for the YX, the Lifan horizontal motors. Something we need to do if we're going to run them at high RPM where they make their most power from when you have a perfectly tuned bike. Okay? Now, these cranks, they're really pretty weak. If you drop it on a table too hard, you will knock it out of phase. Alright, this is an unbalanced crank. You can't tell because there's no weight on it. The most important thing to know about balancing a crank is the difference between rotating weight and reciprocating weight. Reciprocating weight is what comes on from this point of the rod back. That's your pin, piston, rings, clips, and the weight of this portion of the rod. You would hold it parallel to your stand or your scale, and you would weigh that. And what's normally used is 50% of the reciprocating weight. For some guys, they may want to go to 48 or 53%. It depends on the driver where he wants to get rid of this vibration, because what you're doing is you're moving the vibration to a different point in RPM. You can't get it all out, but you can move it or smooth it out somewhat, especially if you put in the account the rotating weight, which you have to put that in as 100% on your mathematical equations as far as how much weight you're going to use to put here, the piston and all that. Once that's calculated, then once you just start calculating, then you'll rotate it, and you'll put not magnets, you're going to put weights here what come on tires. You start putting them there, and you're going to start to see a change where it will no longer want to rotate like it's doing right now. It'll stay where you. So what you do is you start putting whatever weight you put there, you put here, and you keep putting it on. Now there'll come a point where you go too far this way and nothing's going to change. So you back up and you start stacking the weights on top of each other now. And this is how you go about that when you work this half. When you start working the other half, you'll do the same thing. You'll play around with it and you'll get time, and that'll help you do it. Now the next thing is, what do you do with it once you find out what weights you need? Well, you're going to have to drill. You're going to have to drill the side of the crankshaft, make holes in there, and put in what's called heavy metal. That's it's real expensive stuff. And the job to do it, well, this is what it looks like when you have done it so far. These are the areas where the holes are. I don't have them going through. They're just big enough to hold these weights, which are considered to be heavy metal, and it is heavy. You make your holes just big enough so they fit in there kind of snug. You may have to press them in. Once they're all in, then you weld around it. Make sure that they don't come out. So whatever you do on this side, you do on this side, because these weights are really not heavy enough to accomplish the job. They never expected these motors to go 10,000 RPM, 14,000 RPMs. So the way they came from factory, they were okay. The bikes were lasting, motors were lasting a long time. But once you start taking it to 10 grand, 15, or anywhere around that area, they don't last too long. They end up snapping off like what you see here. This part of the crank snapped off because the vibration will eventually start breaking the crankshaft, especially if your flywheel is heavy on one side than the other, or not turning true. Like most flywheels that I find, they are wobbling just brand new out of the box. Well, I fixed them. I cut them down, and I make them lighter. And I'm making a light one right now, which is done. It's just I haven't put it back together yet. I'll show you that in a minute. Now, once you get these in here, because you have to make all these holes to lighten up the crankshaft anyway, you knock this all out of phase, and you have to put it back into phase. Whether, because when it's not in phase, that shaft will go this way, and this one will go in the opposite direction. So you'll have to hit this with soft hammers until you get it right where the indicators don't move any which way. Sometimes the crank could be tossed in this way too, to each other, and you have to figure out how that's done. Okay, now I have one here which is almost completed on my Bridgeport, and this is all welded up already, all the way to welded in there. Now, to make sure that the crank will never go out of phase, I'll grind some slots down further, so when I weld it, I can take off some of the weld and still it would be down there deep enough. Now, because these cranks are so fragile, any little bit of heat here will distort the crank and therefore knock out the trueness of the crank. So you have to, when you clamp it, you have to make spacers, which are right here. You have to measure this area precisely, put something in there, and then get a clamp in there. And when you finish clamping it down, make sure that you turn the crank and make sure that that dial did not change from where it was before, which was true. Okay, you have to do the same thing for all the clamps. All the clamps have places in there. So if I don't clamp this down when I weld this up, this crank is going to be out of phase. So I'm going to be welding it up soon. I probably should have showed you how to balance it from the beginning, but you play around, you can look on the internet. And not all the videos tell you how to go and do this, okay? So you have to do a lot of homework. I do a lot of homework all the time. I have engineering skills, and I do all the work to the bike. I don't need anybody. So what I use for spacers was a 3/8 tube, steel tube. I cut it flush, I file it flat, and I precisionally measure it to make sure that it is the dimension that goes in there. Then I would stick it in there so it would be tight, so when I squeeze this it wouldn't go down any further, because the minute, if this was a little bit short and you squeezed a little bit, I would notice it here. So that's why I have that there, to see what it is that I'm doing. So I just thought I'd help you guys out, the ones who don't know about the correct way of welding this, because they crankshaft people, they show you that they spot welded it on both sides so it never moves out of phase, but they never really show you if it's still in phase. Prior to doing that work, they show you how straight they got it, but that's it. That's what you're going to see. By the way, that's the bike that it goes on. My motor's out right now. I'm always doing work on it. You can see my videos. They always have something on there that I'm working on. And I'll give you a sneak peek at the only Lifan head. The only Lifan head that has a roller camshaft in it. What do you think about that? Roller camshaft, roller rocker arms. That's an 8.5 lift, for those of you who don't know. And those valves, intake 30 millimeter, exhaust 26. Okay, so we're talking about flying when I get back on the road again, which will be pretty soon. It's cold out here in New York, so we'll have to wait. You want to see my flywheel? That's what it looks like. It's not all together yet, but it's all done. I know everything about magnets and how everything goes back together. This would be the hub that goes to the flywheel. This is the part that broke off of the crankshaft, which is now makes a good tool for me. So I've lightened up that hub with the extra holes. Plus I trued it because it was out of whack. Okay, now the rivets that are there, They were steel. I'll be putting back aluminum. Special alloy aluminum. So, there you go. And this true stand that I have here, it's from a bicycle wheel. That's all it was. And I put extensions with rollers on. Anyone can do that. Costs you about $90 on eBay. Okay? Hope you guys enjoyed this. I love what I see on the internet. Especially that guy, Ken O'Connor. He's pretty cool. He's not doing balancing work, though. I'm doing this for myself, and in the future I plan to be doing this for people who wants to go fast. Okay? I am going to build. I have 2 other motors besides the one that I'm working on. And all of them are bigger than one. So, alright guys. Take care now. Check out my other videos. There are 9 of them from start to finish. You can see the bike doesn't look all that cool for the first video, but as it goes along, it gets better and better. Take care now.